I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened.
Isaiah 11. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf, and the young lion, and the fatling together, and the little child shall lead them, and the cow and the bear shall feed. Their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bakapadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of the GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right. And what I want to get into today, this morning, is dealing with, evil times, and violence, is on the increase, especially what they call political violence. It's a lot going on. All right. As, the spirit had us to harp on how they was going to use, this whole incident, all right, with C. Kirk, okay, to spin off, certain legislations, to create a narrative, all right, and to move the goalposts, to the agenda that they want, all right, and there's more, crackdown on free speech, okay, the right, to look justified in being violent, towards anyone that comes against them as if, they're under, threat of death at all times. All right, because this devil has mastered playing the victim. Okay, and Apostle Paul, he reminded us, of the times that we will be in towards the end. All right, the latter times. Okay, so we see this devil, He's using this incident, showing you that, this was a play, all right, a chess move, all right, by the left hand by Esau, Edom, the elites, okay, to forward their agenda of totalitarianism, okay, and like we went into yesterday, what they're doing, they're separating, the rich, okay, from the poor, okay, and the rich is playing victim, okay, and the poor, okay, are the criminals. You see, and they're lumping the masses, okay, within the left, okay. This is how they're sectioning off society, man. They call it the left and the right, but ultimately it's the rich and the poor, okay. And the people that's poor, that that think they're on the right, well, you're gonna find out, all right, you're considered, all right, enemy too, okay. You see, you're gonna find out the hard way that you're not included, all right, with the right, which is the poor. I mean, which is the rich. Okay, they're gonna treat you as the left. You're gonna be treated, okay, the same way as the left. Okay, and they're just dwindling these things down. Okay, as they get closer to executing, attempting to execute their new world order. So let's go here. Let's go to the book of Timothy, and I looked a few things up. They got a few videos to play. It's a time to be circumspect as well. So let's go here, read 2 Timothy chapter 3. All right, verses 1, and we'll stop at 4. It said this is the book of 2 Timothy chapter 3. All right, and in verse 1 it said, "This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come." And we in the last days, all right, and we are constantly warned in the scriptures that these days will be riddled, okay, with dangerous times. Okay, the scriptures speak about the worst time ever, and we see everything brewing. Everything is trending towards the worst times ever, which the Bible, goes into. Daniel 12th chapter, okay, Matthew 21. But guess what? We're also comforted by deliverance of these times, from these times. Okay, it says, "For many shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, all right, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good." Despisers of those that are good, because this devil, he has made truth a hate speech. Okay, you gotta think about it. This man uh has made a man that wants to be the head of his family. He has deemed that toxic. Okay, a woman, that wants to be subjugated to her husband, they deem that a pick-me, okay, or a slave. You see, this is a society that we live in. Okay, if you're not a serial killer, especially amongst nigga culture, you're looked at as a lame. Okay, you're not a serial killer. You're not selling poison to your own people. You're a lame. You eat a certain way. Even at work, you eat a certain way. You're outcast. You see, this society hates anything that's good. That's a reflection of anything good. Okay, because it's under the ruler of darkness, man. Okay, you teach the truth about the Bible. Okay, hate speech. Okay, but this devil, he gets to go and blow the earth up. He gets to bomb at will. He just go get, like they uh, criminalize niggas for shooting up shit. But this nigga, okay, does air strikes and you see, missile strikes throughout the earth when they'll, at will. Okay, but he, constantly puts himself in the seat of morality if he can decide what's good and what's evil. And even with this whole C. Kirk thing, okay, you're seeing that now, he's playing the victim, all right, and he's lumping the masses in this category of evil, all right, that has to be dealt with. It says traitors, heady-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of the Most High. Okay, and I went to the chat. I just want to go to the chat real quick and ask them to relate that, okay, until this time. So you go here. We got some other stuff I looked up too. But you go here. So I asked the chat to relate 2 Timothy 3, all right, verses 1 through 4, okay, to the social climate in America today. Okay. It said this passage from Paul's letter, all right, to Timothy is often seen as a prophetic warning about moral and spiritual decline in society. While interpretations vary, many people draw parallels between these verses and aspects of modern American culture. Here's a breakdown. Okay. Here's a breakdown. So it goes into it, dealing with modern American culture and what the Apostle Paul was warning Timothy of the atmosphere. Okay, he was pretty much uh, warning him of the social climate. And brother can look that up, social climate, put that on the comment board. It said lovers of themselves. It says there's a strong emphasis on self promotion and individualism, especially through social media. Self love culture is praised, but sometimes at the expense of humility and community. Healthy self respect is good, but the passage critiques a narcissistic mindset that can lead to selfishness and moral decay. Okay, and there's no doubt that this is a very narcissistic society where everyone's just out for self. There's a difference between, self-care, all right, and just being this proud, narcissistic asshole like people are in this society, man. Okay? There's a society where, you know, everyone's trying to use everyone as a ladder to get to where they need to. Okay? And it just has created a very immoral and corrupt society from top to bottom. Okay, it said levels of money, materialism, and consumerism are deeply embedded in American culture. Wealth and status often define success. A culture that values profit over ethics or wealth over integrity fits the description. Okay, it says boastful, proud, abusive. It says the public discourse, and this is the point, has grown more aggressive and decisive. I mean, divisive, or which means that division. Okay, it said especially in politics and online. Okay, especially in politics online. Look how aggressive people are about politics now. You remember there was a time people wasn't aggressive like this towards politics, man. You can remember when Bill Clinton was running for president, man. It wasn't, you know, a life or death situation based on who you voted for. You wasn't you couldn't lose your family, based on who you voted for. The woman leave, because you voted different from her. It was nowhere near this intense or aggressive back in those days, man. You know, you see, but now it's just extremely aggressive and intense and divisive, as it says, um, division. Okay, when it goes into political, okay, the political arena, to the point now it's becoming violent. See, the political arena, they've used this because it's nothing but an enchantment of a false left right paradigm. And they use this paradigm to now it's finna get bloody. Okay? It said pride and arrogance are often rewarded while humility is overlooked. So society can reward ego and domination instead of compassion, all right, and civility. Now, it says disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy. It says many view modern generation as being more defiant and disconnected from traditional authority structures like family or religion. Some argue that there's a moral drift away from the respect for elders, spiritual values, or gratitude, man. There's a very, disrespectful, society. You got people in the world, all right, especially, these YNs have no manners. Okay, manners and you know, having social skills, okay, having any type of reverence, for elders, that's out the door. Okay, reverence, for children, having reverence for adults, that's out the door. It's backwards, man. The adults are afraid of the children. Okay, Esau has turned the earth into a backwards world, but then he still gets to sit in the seat of morality and point the finger of what's evil and what's good. And this is the society under Esau, Edom. Esau has intentionally turned the earth upside down in this manner. Okay? It says, going down, it says, without love, unforgiving, slanderous. Okay? It says, council culture, online shaming, and political polarization can reflect a lack of grace. Okay? Forgiveness. Public debate often turns into personal attack. And this whole council culture was meant to set up to counsel out the truth. Okay, this whole thing of council culture was set up for the devil to counsel out truth, man, and to counsel out any narrative that opposes his agenda. That's what council culture was about. Okay, so people are used, and people have been cheering on council culture when something is counseled that's in, that doesn't agree with them, not knowing that this devil was setting up for the masses to be silenced and be counseled, man. Okay? This devil's so crafty, he has people cheering for their own trap. Okay? It says, without self-control, all right, brutal, not lovers of good. It says, violence, addiction, and impulsive behavior are real societal issues. Entertainment often glorifies brutality and sensationalism. When discipline, all right, and restraint fade, chaos and harm often follow, man. And we're right here at the brink of chaos, man. America is sliding into chaos. Okay? Hey, the social climate is heating up, is going into chaos, man. You see? You look at the spirit that's in the earth, all right? Which brother got that precept for me, the water. I mean that definition. Yep. So this goes into this the brother Jim in his likeness, Dhammavatya. Okay. It says social climate. It says the social climate refers to the general character and prevalent attitudes, the norms and values and behaviors. Okay. So the general attitude, character, all right, norms, values, and behaviors that shape, okay, a specific social environment such as community, workplace, or historical era. Okay, and look at the things that have become the norm. All right, mass shootings, these are normal. Okay, celebrities getting shot up, these are the normals. Politicians being threatened and you know shot at. These are things on the norm, whether it's staged or not. Well, this set the tone for these things to be normal, because after a while these things are going to be authentic. Okay, it's going to be people just losing it. All right, and it's just going to be all over the place, man. You see, so we're seeing, all right, the social climate become very violent. Okay, become very aggressive. Okay, to the point to where you can't even start, all right, certain conversations, man. You can't even engage in certain conversations, man, without the threat of things going haywire, man. And this is why the spirit just been on, start with the apostle and elders on down, for hey, to be have salt, be wise, be strategic. Okay, we have this wisdom to be strategic with it, man. Okay, to be preventive. You see, we should be able, to direct, conversations, to slide out of conversations, and move around using this wisdom, man, because this ain't the time to be engaged, man, because it's hot in there. You see? All right, the brother got a definition as well. This the brother Kazak Bunny Howard that says social climate, psychological psychological climate, people's mindset. Social context is typically defined as a perception of a social environment that tends to be shared by a group of people. It says climate is rooted in perception, how I see the way things are done or how people treat each other, all right, around here. Okay, and we see that it's getting very violent, man. It's getting very aggressive. Okay, this world is getting very aggressive, All right, and Esau is doing these psyops, which is invoking demons. You have to remember, Esau is enchanting these people, man. When they look at these psyops and these, C. Kirk events and all these different things, Esau is invoking demons and rousing up demons in these people, man, to behave in a certain way. Okay, we gotta understand, hey, the left hand is real. Okay, this devil was given particular power to do these things, man. Okay, on the left hand side, the inward thought of them is deep. Okay, so let's go here. I got this video I want to get into, as I'm sure you brothers and sisters have heard. All right, dealing with two Jakes, that was found, hung down here in Mississippi. So just let me show you that you got certain devils, man, coming out the woodworks, man. That's why I say this ain't the time to have your head in the clouds, man. Move in wisdom, man. Okay? Man, this is the time to be strategic in how we move. Okay? So let's play this.
So as you all know, Charlie Kirk was killed the other day. And in the wake of that, you had all these big name right-wing figures like Elon Musk and, libs of TikTok and many right-wing politicians and right-wing pundits. And they all came out and in unison, they were screaming fucking revenge, retribution, civil war, violence. And so guess what? After they said that, you had, it was like 5 different HBCUs, I think it was, got bomb threats and death threats. And so they had to cancel classes. You also had the DNC got bomb threats and death threats. They had to shut that down. The Senate was warned about what was happening over at the DNC. You had all these different things happening. But then something else happened, which should be beyond disturbing to everybody out there. There are 2 different black men who wound up hanging from a tree in Mississippi. Now, they were in different places, but 2 different black men on the same day were found hanged in Mississippi. So this one is from NBC. They say, body of a black student is found hanging from a tree in Mississippi. Police at Delta State University said no evidence of foul play was found in the death of DeMartravion Trey Reed, but investigation is ongoing. So here's the thing. The sheriff's office originally told the family he was found dead in his dorm room. Then they found out, actually, no, he was hanging from a tree. You have, the coroner saying, oh, no, there was no evidence of foul play. There's no bruises. There's no lacerations. There's no anything. But you have other people who say, the fuck there weren't. Yes, there were. Again, Charlie Kirk gets shot. All the big right-wing figures are literally out there calling for blood of the left, revenge, retribution. All these violent threats against HBCUs, right? All these violent threats against the DNC. And now, 2 black men in Mississippi found hanged. 2 separate black men found hanged. Now it's going to get darker. Are you ready? So it's already dark. It's already dark. Because what's the history? The history is obvious. There's a history of lynching in the Deep South. Lynching. White mobs lynching innocent black people. Right? This is a song. Now, I can't play much of it because it's probably going to get knocked on copyright if I do. Right? So I'm going to speed it up a little bit, and I'm only going to play you maybe 10 seconds of it. But what happened here is the well-known MAGA rapper, Forgiato Blow, he decided to release a song. This just happened. He just fucking released this not that long ago, 3 days ago. He released a song that is literally step-by-step about how to lynch. And then 2 black guys get lynched.
Oh, we need a big tall tree and a short piece of rope. Hang them up high at sundown. Leave them swinging so the folks all know you don't mess around in our town.
If you want to hear it again, you can go back and listen to it. I hope we don't get knocked on copyright for that. But it's literally a song about how to lynch. DeMartravion Trey Reed was lynched and cops say no foul play. A black man hanging in 2025 isn't an accident. Days after white men marched to fight back for Charlie Kirk. Black folks are hunted again. America is rotting. Don't let them gaslight us. The lack of interest in this story. The family is saying we demand an independent investigation. We demand our own autopsy. We're not going to take the word of the officials. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. And I think that's exactly right. Look, let's be honest. The MO usually of young black men is not to fucking hang themselves, right? And hanging in the Deep South in Mississippi immediately after Charlie Kirk gets killed and everybody on the right is calling for revenge and retribution and HBCUs are getting threatened and the DNC is getting threatened. 2 black men wound up hanged And everybody, nothing to see here, no big deal. And every article about it, oh, they say there's no evidence of foul play and there's nothing to see here and there's, no bruises, no this, no that. Don't worry about it. I don't know, man. Something smells fishy. And there's a rising tide in this country of fascism, and everybody knows it. Anybody who pretends not to know it is full of shit, or they're the dumbest person on the planet. And this is what we're dealing with now. So, very, very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. And I'll keep my eye on it. But look, we might never get the truth. That's the thing, right? Is like all these things that are happening. We might never know who actually killed Charlie Kirk. I don't trust the official story. I don't trust the fucking FBI. Fucking Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, two idiot podcasters, are running it. All they care about is getting social media praise from the MAGA blob. I don't trust them. And I don't trust the authorities in this instance. All I'll say is Occam's razor points in one direction and is not the one that they're telling us to believe. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm.
Yeah, so as you can see, all right, and it goes back into the social climate. You see, that's where we at. All right, and the mice are becoming more emboldened. Okay, and we see, the racial tension, is on the rise. All right, and these devils, and you see how the media, is extremely biased. All right, towards these devils. Here it is. They're saying that no foul play, dealing with the Jake that was hanging in the Delta. If you know anything about the Delta, all right, the Delta is, when you see, a lot of movies. I don't know if y'all remember the movie dealing with Whoopi Goldberg when they went into the story of Medgar Evers. Okay, and Medgar Evers, he lived down here in Jackson. He was killed, in Jackson, Mississippi. Probably about 15 minutes from the camp, in the neighborhood called Shady Oaks. But his house still there. It's a memorial today. You can go to his house. Well, long story short, the Edomite, Byron Bell Deckwood, all right, he was from the Delta, their region. He drove down, from the Delta, just to shoot, Medgar Evers, okay, right in front of his, his family down here in Jackson. Okay, so them devils up there in the Delta, what else history you have? You have Emmett Till. Emmett Till was up there in the Delta. When that happened to him, he was beaten. Okay, he was up there in the Delta, man. Okay, and you look at the token racism of Mississippi, which is all throughout. You got Natchez, you got the Natchez Punch Bowl, but the Delta, is known, okay, for being extremely, okay, racist against Jake. So that to happen in that area, and then they say no foul play, is like, come on, what Jake is hanging himself, all right, and that's not an easy thing to do, to hang yourself from a tree, okay, because you have to climb the tree. You see, you have to. I doubt they show you the tree that he was supposedly hung from, but you have to climb the tree. Okay, so that will be phase one, and then putting a rope on yourself, rope into the branch, making sure the branch was, strong enough. Like, this ain't no light thing to do, because you drop that weight down, okay, on that branch. Well, there's a lot that go into that, okay. And these devils, this is what they was known for back in the day, man. So you're seeing, okay, these devils becoming emboldened, man, and it's gonna lead to a clash. It's gonna lead to a clash. All right, and just like the brother put, his brother Kazak Bun Yahweh, the Proverbs 14 and 15, he said, the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. Okay, the prudent man looketh well to his going. So you're gonna have the simple, that believe all this madness. They're gonna be pulled all over the place, by all these different stories and these different narratives that these devils, are going to spin, okay, and be confused as hell, but the Lord has given us, the spirit, of being prudent, and we know we're not ignorant of sage devices, man. Okay. So let's go here to another video. Meanwhile, you're not hearing a lot of, mainline, all right, headline stories about that. Okay. But then when you go here, this is the issue. Now, this is right after, all right, CK, was on the live. All right. But it shows you, all right, because this is about 8 days ago. But it just shows you the narrative that they want to run with. Just pay attention to these narratives that they're pushing in mainstream media, the narratives that they have on repeat. Okay, and going back to the social climate, well, political violence, because see, this is normal in other countries. People even when like America, the small hats, they'll kill an Iranian leader. And they make a big deal over here. Well, you gotta understand, over there in the east, in the far east, in the Middle East, these things are normal. Their political violence is on high, and it's due to America, the West, stirring it up. Okay, but their political violence is on high. They're used to their presidents and certain leaders being assassinated. Okay, they're used to having multiple leaders assassinated through the year, sometime in a month. Okay, their political violence in those other lands is off the charts because America in the West stir it up. Mainly America, the CIA, the British MI6 and small hats. All right, Mossad, those secret services. Okay, but now we're seeing the political climate in America begin to heat up and become more violent. Okay, things are becoming normal. Okay, so let's play this.
This morning, the murder of Charlie Kirk is heightening concern about the rise in cases of political violence across the country.
Our nation is broken. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination.
Of war.
Then candidate Trump was shot at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania last year. An audience member, firefighter Corey Comparator, was killed. Months later, a second attempt on Trump's life at his Florida golf course. The suspect is now on trial. This past June, a Minnesota state representative and her husband were shot and killed in their home. And in April, police say a man tried to kill Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, setting his home on fire.
This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. It is not okay. And it has to stop.
The list goes on. Then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked in his home. And years earlier, Congressman Steve Scalise was shot at a congressional baseball game. This year, threats against members of Congress are surging, with nearly 14,000 compared to 9,000 during all of last year. Many are asking, is the political temperature too hot? And is social media adding fuel to the fire?
A lot of it has to do, I think, with a fragmented media landscape. People can express their views on social media freely. And I think that breeds a certain amount of incivility and division.
Historian Mark Updegrove compares today's political divisions to the 1960s.
The last time we saw a political climate that was as heated and divided as we're seeing today was the 1960s, a very tumultuous, tempestuous time in our history where we saw the assassination of John F. Kennedy in 1963, Malcolm X in 1964, and Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy in 1968. It shook this country to its very foundations. And it was a time of great change and upheaval. We saw the civil rights movement in full bloom. We saw the Vietnam War, which was wildly unpopular. These things ripped us apart as a nation. Eventually, we came out of it. But I think we saw then that political violence was not the answer to our problems.
As for the threats against Congress, more funding has been allocated to boost security. Elizabeth, Perry.
Andrea.
All right, and you see how they, they blame, social media. Okay, when they talk about social media, they're talking about YouTube as well. Okay, and know who they want the most removed from YouTube, and that's the prophets, man. Okay, so now they're going back into how words are inciting and violence. All right, what led to, CK, okay, being assassinated with words from social media. Okay, so now, as the scriptures say, they make a man an accuser for a word. You know, uh, if I can find, I think that's in. Uh, he looked it up in a while. Let me see, man. Word. I think that's in the book of Isaiah. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. Let me see. Been a while. Yeah, offender. There's an offender for a word. Okay, there you go. So let's get this real quick. Okay, yeah, the Water Brothers. Brothers got me. Yep. So this is the book of Isaiah. It's your brother Kazakba and Yahweh. Isaiah 29:21. It said that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gates. And who is him that reproveth in the gates? The prophets. Okay, because the prophets are coming with the reproof from Yahweh by Shema Shai. Hey, we're waving the hand at this society, man, beginning with the leadership through the spirit of Yahweh by Shema Shai. So they land the snare. This is all a snare, okay, to where we can be accused. You see, this devil, he's slithering his way to the prophets, man. How does a snake move? It goes side to side, to go forward. Okay, so this devil is going here, going there, going here, but he's coming to the prophets, man. That's what he wants. Okay, so he's putting all these snares and doing all these things to set up that snare to accuse the prophets, man. Okay, it says, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught, man. Making it seem as if we're, he's going to make us more despised than anything. Here it is, we coming with righteousness, with true wisdom. Okay, the words of Yahweh by Shema Shai, but he's going to turn it to a thing of naught and make us despise. Okay, as if we're the problem of the earth. Okay, so brothers, we got prepare our minds for that. Okay, because the devil is slithering our way, man. Okay, now let's go here. Got one more video I want to get into. Okay, even dealing with this whole thing now, they talking about putting RICOs on people. Okay, for being against the right, which is ultimately the rich. All right, the elites, the oligarchs. Okay, the right is a code word for oligarchs, which we went into that, or the brother can put that definition up as well. Oligarchs. Okay, when you speak of the right, you're speaking of the oligarchs and their minions and do boys that do their bidding. Okay, so let's play this.
They have had it, folks. They are coming for all of us. And over the last 24 to 48 hours, I have had more conversations with content creators. If I were to add up the followings of the content creators who over the last 2 days have expressed concern that we're going to be targeted by this administration, it would be in the tens of millions of followers. Okay. People are worried, and for very good reason. At every single instance, we are seeing that there is an appetite to, as they see it, avenge the death of Charlie Kirk by targeting people who had nothing to do with it and advocate nonviolence, advocate peaceful opposition, and working using the systems we have to change society in ways that we think would improve things. So here is Donald Trump again talking about, can we bring RICO cases against some of the people whose views and opinions at the end of the day we don't like. Chilling stuff.
Given with all the that's going on with Charlie Kirk's assassination and the left-wing violence going on, do you have plans, and actually this is a great opportunity with all these, do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%. And others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups?
Antifa is terrible.
There are other groups, yeah. There are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. They come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud.
And of course, throwing bricks at cars is a crime. But that is just such a tiny, insignificant slice of what is going on here. And Trump's saying, we're going to bring RICO against Antifa. It's like saying we're going to bring RICO against, we're declaring a war on country music. Like, what's the organization? Or what do you mean? What are you talking about? Against Antifa's not even an organized thing at this point. But the appetite is clear. The appetite is, we don't really respect free speech. We don't really respect dissent. And I'm not, I despise George W. Bush as president. But Bush acknowledged, although it might be easier not to have the adversarial media, it's constitutional. It's what we have. It's part of the United States of America. Now, Jesse Waters on Fox News.
Oh yeah, Salaki. So what I want to go into because Donald Trump mentioned putting a RICO. Now Antifa is supposed to be this extremist, left group, okay, of the left. All right, and see, he can easily, slide us into being radicals, okay, because you already have the BHI, the Black Hebrew Identity Extremists, okay. All these are nothing but buzzwords, okay? They can put us in a group. So when you go into this thing, RICO, which putting a RICO on somebody for having an opinion against you, that's extremely radical, man. Brother can post that too. What's that? Isaiah 10:1. But so let's go here to what a RICO is. All right. Now it says a RICO case refers to a legal case brought under the RICO Act, which stands for the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organization Acts. Okay, and there's no one, all right, that has more organized corruption than Esau Edom, from the elite bankers to these Edomite governments, man. Okay, it says it's a U.S. federal law enacted in 1970 to combat organized crime. Okay, so when you read down, it said, what does the RICO Act do? It said the RICO Act allows prosecutors to go after criminal organizations as a whole, not just individual members. It's used to target patterns of criminal activity conducted by an enterprise like a gang, mafia, corporate business, or even a political organization, man. And when you go into a political organization, man, that's a very broad, stroke, to where they're so vague that they can say anything as a political organization. Okay, like they'll say BHI, all right, which we're not Black Hebrew Israelites. We're Hebrew Israelites, okay? But you have, and that's why you have these other camps, they push Black Hebrew Israelites because that's a code, that's a buzzword. Okay, remember, these guys is linked to the 501c3. They're giving instructions on what to push. Okay, because that's how the feds build a case. They just constantly gather throughout years and years, okay, till they have, what they want, all right, to present to the public as, okay, these guys are a problem. Okay. Now it says a criminal enterprise. All right, said to bring a RICO case, prosecutors must prove a criminal enterprise exists. This would be formal like the mafia or informal like a group of people committing fraud together. The defendant, all right, was part of that enterprise, a pattern of racketeering activity. This means at least two related crimes called predictable acts. Remember, Palantir is supposed to be crime prediction. Okay, they throw that in the mix to Palantir. It said within 10 years. Examples: bribery, money laundering, drug trafficking, fraud. Okay, what's say murder? All right, unaliving. All right, kidnapping or arson. It says the criminal acts, all right, were done through the enterprise. So the RICO was used for highly organized, really for the mob, for the mafia. Okay, there was a way the FBI could crack down on the whole mob and bring down the whole, enterprise instead of just taking one or two people, out of the group. They can take down the whole mob, the whole enterprise. Okay, that was mainly what it was done for. All right, and then branched out, to going into other groups and even political groups. All right, and now they're saying Antifa. Okay, which you go to Antifa, going back to this left, this group, this leftist group, and then they saying, well, they're throwing bricks at ICE agent cars. Okay, so and then they can have people, paid to do that. That's how these devils do. But at the end of the day, a RICO is extremely severe, all right, crackdown on organized crime. But to now mention RICO with people that speak against the right, okay, that's the oligarchs, all right, preparing to come down with an iron fist, man. Okay, and you best believe they're gonna slide, all right, these groups, these camps, okay, and make them what a political, okay, dissent, okay. You see, they're gonna do that, man. All right, this is why you tell you these are the times that we in. You see, the devil is slithering towards his way, and that RICO, it frees your assets. Okay. I said, what does RICO allow the government to do? Charge multiple people together as part of a broader conspiracy, seize assets, cars, money, property connected to criminal activity, up to 20 years per reckoning, all right, count, or life in extreme cases, man. Okay. And that's why the scriptures, promote us, all right, to have a certain mindset in these times. Okay. Because we're in a time, all right, and we'll end it on that. Let's get that real quick. Let's get this. All right, this the brother student of Yahushua. All right, Isaiah 10:1 says, woe unto him that decree unrighteous decrees and their right grievousness, which they have prescribed, man. Okay, so they have things in the books, and see, their law is all about entrapment. You see, our laws, you go to the laws of Yahweh Bashim al-Shai, it was all about righteousness being forwarded, just judgment, okay, balance. You see, this devil laws are all about entrapment. Okay, and they're weaponized. He weaponizes his laws. Okay, so when you go here, because brothers can get hit with a RICO, man. That ain't far fetched. Okay, don't be surprised. They deem the apostles, the head of a political dissent against the American government. Okay. And they hit everyone linked to it with RICOs, man. Okay. So let's go here. 2nd Ezra 16:4 says, "O my people, hear my word, make you ready to the battle, and then those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. He that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buys is one that he will lose," man. Okay. So as we, have, these possessions, okay, in our current situation, man, just know all it takes is one day, man, and the devil can bring down that RICO, okay, and everyone link, all right, to GMS, all right, these other camps too, but everyone linked just dealing with in-house with GMS, man, all right, hey, they can hit with a RICO, you ever sent brother something, they can trace all that, okay, you're abating a crime organization. You're aiding the crime organization, man. So you brothers and sisters understand what we're a part of, man. What we're up against in these times, man. This is why these things are written. Okay? Be as pilgrims upon the earth, man. This is not our rest. This is not, this is not our continuous city. Okay? It says, "He that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buys is one that will lose. He that occupy merchandise, and he that have no profit by it, and he that build it is he that shall not dwell therein. He that soweth as if he should not reap. So also he that planteth the vineyard is he that shall not gather the grapes. They that marry is they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers," man. So we're coming to a time now where we're not going to be living these average, everyday, convenient lives, man. Okay, we do, we function in this society while it's up and going, and we maintain ourselves, and we handle our business, and we, got things going here and there. All right, well, we just have to be in the mindset that things are going to make a drastic change, man. It's going to be quick. Okay, so we have to meditate on those things while things are cordial. Well, we have to meditate on, hey, you got sometimes you gotta look at what you own. You gotta look at stuff around you, your house, your cars, and you gotta look at these things and like, shit, I'm gonna have to let it go. You have to already detach from these things, man. You gotta really ponder and look at these things and be like, all this shit, I'm gonna have to detach from all this, man. It's just gonna be us and the Lord, So yeah, that's the point. Just wanted to get into that, this morning, dealing with the morning news and prophecy. So Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakafadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutation, and hopeful like Shalom.